वंशी रत्नांगदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासम् श्यामं त्रिभंगललितं नियतप्रकाशम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। अंगानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमन्ति पश्यन्ति पान्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दचिन्मय सदुज्ज्वल विग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। अद्वैतमच्युतमनादिमनन्तरूपम् आद्यं पुराणपुरुषं नवयौवनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमदुर्लभमात्मभक्तौ गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। पन्थास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसिम्न्यविचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं अहं भजामि। एकोऽप्यसौ रचयितुं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्चक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डचयाय दन्ता अण्डान्तरस्थपरमाणुचयान्तरस्थम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यद्भावभावितधियो मनुजस्तथैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमा सनयानभूषा सुप्तैर्यमेव निगमः प्रतिथैस्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। आनन्दचिन्मय रसप्रतिभाविताभिस्ताभिर्येव निजरूपतया कलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसत्यखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। प्रेमाञ्जनचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठा नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णस्त्वयमभवत्परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्य प्रभा प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटिः कोटिस्वशेष वसुधादिविभूतिभिन्नम् तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदवितायमाना स्वावलम्बिपरसत्त्वविशुद्धसत्त्वम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। आनन्दचिन्मय रसात्मतया मनस्सु यः प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरतामुपेत्य लीलायितेन भुवनानि जयत्यजस्रम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोलोकनाम्नि निजधाम्नि तले च तस्य देवी महेश हरिधाम सुतेषु तेषु ते ते प्रभावनिचया विहिताश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। सृष्टिस्थिति प्रलय साधन शक्तिरेका छाये वयस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टते सा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि क्षीरं यथा दधिविकारविशेषयोगा सञ्जायते न हि ततः पृथगस्ति हेतोः यः शम्भुतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्यात् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि दीपाचिरेव हि दशान्तरमभ्युपेत्य दीपायते विवृतहेतुसमानधर्मा यस्तार्ग एव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योगः निद्रामनन्तजगदण्डसरोमकूपाः आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्यैकनिश्वसितकालमथावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथा विष्णुर्महान् स इह यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि भास्वान् यथा स्म सकलेषु निजेषु तेजा स्वीयं कियत् प्रकटयत्यपि तद्वदत्र ब्रह्माय एष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यत्पादपल्लवयुगं विनिधाय कुम्भ द्वन्द्वे प्रणामसमये स गणाधिराजा विघ्नान् विहन्तु मलमस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अग्निर्मही गगनमम्बुमरुद्दिशश्च कालस्तथात्ममनसीति जगत्त्रयाणि यस्माद्भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यच्चक्षुरेश सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजाः यस्याज्ञया भ्रमति संवृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि धर्मोऽथ पापनिचयश्रुतयस्तपांसि ब्रह्मादिकीटपटगावधयश्च जीवा यद्दत्तमात्र विभव प्रकटप्रभावा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्मिन्द्रगोपमथवेन्द्रमहोस्वकर्मा बन्धानुरूपफलभाजनमातनोति कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाजाम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यं क्रोधकामसहजः प्रणयादिभीति वात्सल्यमोहगुरुगौरवसेव्यभावैः सञ्चिन्त्य तस्य सदृशीं तनुमापुरेते गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि श्रीयकान्ता परमपुरुष कल्पतर्वो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणि गणमयितोऽयमृतम् कथागानं नाट्यं गमनमपि वंशी प्रियसखी चिदानन्दं ज्योतिः परमपि तदास्वाद्यमपि च स यत्र क्षीराब्धी श्रवति सुरभिभ्यश्च सुमहान् निमेषाढ्याख्यो वा व्रजति न हि यत्रापि समयः भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहमिह गोलोकमिति यम् विदन्तस्ते सन्तः क्षिति विरल चारा कटिपय।
And Hare Krishna. Here's some. Go
Krishna 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 Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna
Feel of water, bring it back.
Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna
Prabhupada ki Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhotade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Navani Prashadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Om Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I'm going to read one verse, Canto 2, Chapter 3, text number 22. If you want to look up the verse, 1, 3, 22. This is in the chapter identified as Pure Devotional Service, Change of Heart. That's how Prabhupada has given the title to the chapter. It's in sequence, going from developing a personal conception of God through the features of material nature, or the universal form, then shifting, leaving behind that meditation to meditation on the Lord in the heart, and then meditation on the personal feature, the Bhagavan feature. The sequence of verses in this chapter has brought us to the point of Shukadeva Goswami indicating to Maharaj Parikshit that the mission of human life is to use the body, the mind, and words in unmixed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So this is a purport that speaks about deity worship, and the introduction to the deity worship starts in this way. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs, which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered, are considered to be like tree trunks. So primary focus is in the beginning parts, the seeing of the form of the Lord and worshiping the form of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Especially for the householder devotees, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended as far as possible. Every householder, by the direction of the spiritual master, must install the deity of Vishnu, forms like Radha, Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, or Sitaram especially, or any other forms of the Lord like the Sringha, Varaha, Gornitai, Matsya, Kurma, Shalagram Shila, and many other forms of Vishnu like Trivikram, Keshava, Achyuta, Vasudev, Narayana, and Damodar, as recommended in the Vaishnava Tantras or Puranas. And one's family should worship strictly following the directions and regulations of Archana Vidhi. Right in the middle part inserts something that's not exactly deity worship, but any member of the family who is above 12 years of age should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. And then he goes back to the topic. And all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord, beginning from morning, parentheses, 4 a.m., till night, 10 p.m., by performing Mangala Arati, Niranjana, Archana, Puja, Kirtana, Shringara, Bhoga Vaikali, Sandhya Arati, Pata, Bhoga at night, Shayana Arati, etc. Engagement in such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, will greatly help the householders to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in spiritual knowledge. So he's going to now explain the connection between spiritual knowledge that's realized compared to spiritual knowledge that's theoretical. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is theoretical, whereas the archana process is practical. Spiritual knowledge must be developed by a combination of theoretical and practical knowledge, and that is the guaranteed way for attainment of spiritual perfection. By the training of devotional service for a neophyte devotee completely depends upon the expert spiritual master who knows how to lead his disciple to make gradual progress towards the path back home, back to Godhead. One should not become a pseudo spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures, semicolon. One must be an expert spiritual master to deliver the disciple from the clutches of impending death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has defined the bona fide qualities of a spiritual master, and one of the verses in that description reads, Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringara Tan Mandiramarjanado Yuktasya Bhaktang Shanyunjatopi Bande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Shri Vigraha is the archa, or suitable worshipable form of the Lord, and the disciple should be engaged in worshiping the deity regularly by Shringara, by proper decoration and dressing, as also by Mandira Marjana, the matter of cleansing the temple. The spiritual master teaches the neophyte devotee all these kindly and personally to help him gradually in the realization of the transcendental name, quality, form, etc. of the Lord. That was a long paragraph. Paragraph number 2. Only attention engaged in this. Only attention engaged in the service of the Lord, especially in dressing and decorating the temple, accompanied by musical kirtan and spiritual instructions from scriptures, can save the common man from the hellish cinema attractions and rubbish sex songs broadcast everywhere by radios. The media has changed. It's not radios anymore. But it's the same principle. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, you should go to another's temple where all the above performances are regularly executed, visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well-dressed in a well-decorated sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. People then goes to the then it goes to the tree trunks or legs that don't go to holy places. So legs should go to holy places. People should visit holy places like Vrindavan, where such temples and worship of the deity are specifically maintained. Formerly, all rich men, like kings and rich merchants, constructed such temples under the direction of expert devotees of the Lord, like the 6 Goswamis. And it is the duty of the common man to take advantage of these temples and festivals observed in the holy places of pilgrimage by following in the footsteps of great devotees. Anuvraja, which should not visit all these sanctified pilgrimage places and temples with sightseeing in mind, but one must go to such temples and sanctified places, immortalized by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, and be guided by proper men who know the science. This is called Anu Vraja. Twice it's being spoken because it's in the verse, Anu Vraja. Anu means to follow. It is therefore best to follow the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master, even in visiting temples and the holy places of pilgrimage. One who does not move in that way is as good as a standing tree, condemned by the Lord not to move. The moving tendency of the human being is misused by visiting places for sightseeing. The best purpose of such traveling tendencies could be fulfilled by visiting the holy places established by great acharyas, and thereby not being misled by the atheistic propaganda of money-making men who have no knowledge of spiritual matters. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada very strong. Thank I was just listening to a room conversation where Srila Prabhupada was speaking about not compromising. You know, well done. The principle of proper knowledge, we've all heard this so many times, is proper knowledge is that which comes from a perfect person. Everyone in the material world is less than perfect. We have defects, and therefore anything that comes from such a defective person is going to be defective, in principle. So how do you get perfect knowledge? You get perfect knowledge from a person that doesn't have human defects. Good luck, right? But that's what the Vedas are. Vedas are presented from a perfect person. And what it's doing is classic, strong, why should I compromise? Persons that don't know are claiming to know and teaching something. I'm not going to compromise because it's popular to teach this or teach that. I'm going to teach what the perfect person teaches. And who's that perfect person? Krishna. Who can be better than Krishna? Vedaishta Sayar Vair Aham Eva Vejo. So this is, the platform of non-compromise that Prabhupada would give. I'm not going to take knowledge or compromise perfect knowledge that comes with something that's popular. I'm not going to do it because I'd be misleading people or cheating people, and I'm not going to be a cheater. I'm just going to give, people can accept it, not accept it. He was very consistent. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta, father and son, had a different style or mood. And Prabhupada is somewhere in between. leaning a little bit towards the Bhaktisiddhanta side. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur would meet with people from all different backgrounds and not compromise, but his style was humble persuasion. Scripturally strong, humble persuasion. And something else, scripturally strong, humble persuasion. And that was his model, or his approach to helping people go from darkness of illusion to the light of transcendental knowledge, humble persuasion. And his son was confrontational by his style. It wasn't insulting, but it was confrontational. I'll give an example. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for quite a long stretch of time, was living in Jagannath Puri. And the place that he chose as his bhajan kutir was very near to the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. He was absorbed, completely absorbed in otherworldly chanting of the holy name, absorbed. And just down, little, 100 yards, was the samadhi of Haridas Thakur, who was the acharya for the chanting of the holy name. During Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, there was another fellow, a Babaji. And the Babaji made his ashram, or his bhajan kutir, right next to the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. Very bold. And Bhaktisiddhanta was visiting his father in Puri. And he naturally went to visit we're going to need one more chair. That's a good idea. Could we all just take half a minute, move forward a little bit, because there are people standing out in the hall and they're in the senior citizen category. We don't want them to stay in the hall. So we're back again in Jagannath Puri. Bhaktisiddhanta is visiting his father. And in the course of visiting his father, he also visited the samadhi and paid his respects to Haridas Thakur. And he came to know I'm not can even say his name. He was living, his bhajan kutir was right next to Haridas Thakur's samadhi. And he was doing two things that Bhaktisiddhanta took exception to. One of the things was he invented a different mantra. Not from scripture, not from Haridas Thakur, but an invented mantra. And he popularized he was a popular man, he popularized this different mantra amongst his followers, who were many followers in Puri. Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Sounds fine. But Bhakti Siddhanta took exception. The exception is Rasabas. And the second thing he did, this Babaji, is he had some followers, and one of his leading followers, he was training him how to become a gopi in his spiritual identity. And he was training him in a bogus way. His training was, he dressed his male disciple like a gopi, so that he could practice being a gopi. The practice was not according to Rupa Goswami or Lord Chaitanya, it was his own concoction. Saki Beki was called. So both were deviations, and Bhakti Siddhanta confronted this Babaji. Strong. Not insulting, but scripturally based, very strong. And because this Babaji was so popular, people became irritated. Who's this young sannyasi confronting this elderly, very elevated, highly respected Babaji? Rah, 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 rah. You know what that sound means. Bhaktivinoda Thakur then invited his son, I recommend that you go to Mayapur and chant japa like Haridas Thakur chanted japa. Now many of us here in the room chant minimum 16 rounds a day. Some chant more, some, especially Ekadasi or coming up Nrsimha Chaturdasi, will chant more, most likely. But many of us, 16. Haridas Thakur's chanting was 4 times 16 times 3. 16 rounds times 4 is 64 rounds, times 3 is 3 lakhs of names, 300,000 names every day. So that's what Bhakti Siddhanta did. He was, at that time he was a brahmachari, but he took a vow that he would chant 3 billion names, and it took him 9 years. Think about it. Every day he would chant 3 times 64 rounds. Now do the math, do quick math. How long does it take a normal person? Some chant a little slower, some chant a little faster. Average, more or less, but average, maybe 2 hours. So 64 rounds times 4 is, 16 times 4 is 64. That's 4 times 2 hours. Correct? That's 8 hours in a day. And then 3 times that. That's 64 times 3. 3 lakhs of names every day. Every day, so he must have chanted rounds in less time than we would normally chant our rounds, or say our mantras. For 9, almost 10 years to complete his vow. He demonstrated that he was beyond the varnashram system, beyond renunciation of a sannyasi. Afterwards, he took sannyas because his father gave him an instruction, and Gaur Kishore gave him an instruction that he should dedicate himself to preaching, which is facilitated by sannyas. So he took sannyas. He came down to the sannyas order from the beyond the varnashram system capacity. But so his method was confrontational. And Prabhupada was strong. He didn't compromise. He would speak strongly, but he wasn't going out of his way to confront. Now, sometimes he confronted people when they're saying nonsense or doing nonsense. but it's just strong. And this is my perspective at least, it's an in-between position between Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta. So, because the language of the Bhagavatam is strong, isn't it? I mean, one who legs don't go to the places of pilgrimage, those legs are no better than tree trunks. Those eyes which do not see the deity form of the Lord, they're no better than the eyes and the plumes of a peacock. Strong. And purport by Prabhupada is not compromising. And the audience that Prabhupada was speaking to was the world. Because as he was writing first canto, second canto, etc., his vision was, of course, starting with the words of his spiritual master to English-speaking parts of the world. Of course, English-speaking parts of the world were all over the world. But then there are many parts of the world that's not English-speaking, and that was his audience, is the world stage. So he's addressing people that really don't know much about Vedic culture and giving them an uncompromised version of what the Bhagavatam says, to help people that don't know anything about anything become pure devotees. Whew. And so let's go more to the purport specifically. I don't think I need that. Do I need that? Do I need that?
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Three times in the purport, Prabhupada speaks about the importance for householders. I see a few householders in the audience. To incorporate deity worship, and he gives practical reasons, and I'll give some additional practical reasons that he spoke in other circumstances. But one of the references, theoretical, practical. Deity worship is practical, and the combination of theoretical and practical make for a complete picture of realization. Because theoretical may not be realized. And practical should be guided by the theoretical. Scripture must guide deity worship or any form of devotional service, any feature or aspect of devotional service should be guided by Scripture. So one needs the Scripture, and one needs someone that can train one properly in Scripture, and that's through the agency of reading, but also guided study of the Scripture. And then comes the practical application. Emphasis upon householders. Why emphasis upon householders? Let's go the other direction. Amongst the principal followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many, not all, many were sannyasis, or not even sannyasis, they were beyond the varnashram system. They were called Goswamis, but they may or may not have taken formal sannyas diksha, because they're formal mantras that go with sannyas diksha. But whether they had those formal sannyas mantras, or they just were abjectly renounced and had left behind family life, or in some cases never entered into family life, and just fully dedicated. And they had deities. With one exception, they had deities. And deeply attached to their deity. Deeply attached to their deity. And realization enhanced by the theoretical practical. So it's not just householders, although, for example, the one that did not, the Goswami that did not, was Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and his deity was Srimad Bhagavatam. And reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, immersion in Srimad Bhagavatam. He was so elevated that Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was offered by a very wealthy individual. He wanted to give him a contribution. He said, I don't need a contribution, but if you're, with your permission, I'll arrange for a nice temple for Radha Govinda. So the large Radha Govinda temple came via a beneficiary or a donor who wanted to give wealth to Raghunath Bhatta, so he built a temple for, with that wealth, a temple was built. The Govindaji temple, several stories tall, etc., etc., etc. But he wasn't personally worshipping deities, but he was supporting the deity worship. But he was not a householder. He was a Goswami. So, especially for householders, why that emphasis? Two reasons. There's more, but two principal reasons. Generally speaking, householders require artha. They require some economic maintenance for their family affairs. So when you have in your hand some wealth, it's real easy to get attached to it. It's mine. Therefore, being charitable is something that's recommended for householders. And charitable unto whom specifically? Of course, many options of unto whom, but ultimately unto the Supreme Person. So having a nice temple area. Many of you have read and heard it many times, Prabhupada saying there are 50,000 Krishna temples in Vrindavan. Where's all those 50,000 Krishna temples? Many are small, not big, but it's the wealth of a merchant family. For example, a place where Srila Prabhupada stayed for about 9 years when he first moved to Vrindavan, at the temple that Radha Van Bihari, no, Radha something. I'm forgetting the name. Maybe it'll come back. Radha Vangshi Gopal. Radha Vangshi Gopal was at one of those 5,000 temples. But it was just a family's home. And it was a wealthy family's home, a kind of an extended family's home. And so they had some property, large property, in other families besides the principal proprietor. And then over there, right on the other side of the courtyard, was Radha Vangshi Gopal deity. Prabhupada rented a room from them and stayed upstairs on the second floor in the Radha Vangshi Gopal temple, but it was somebody's home. And every day, all of his offerings of prasadam went to the deity. He personally cooked and personally offered to the deity. They permitted. And so it was a very nice situation where he had Radha Krishna deities just in the same building. So this is what in the purport here is, it's common. It was common then and it's common today. Wealthy persons establish a temple. And if one doesn't have the capacity by finance or other means, as time, whatever, then to visit a family that does have a temple. Because the principle is it's beneficial. And then when there's an opportunity, like coming up soon is Nrsimha Chaturdasi, so some kind of, in one's home, a festival for Lord Nrsimhadev. So you use your wealth as a gift to the deity, or in honor of the personality of Godhead, and the flowers and this and that and the other things. Use wealth that's not, Krishna doesn't need our charity. He's the proprietor of everything. We need, so it's part of the dharma of a householder to be charitable. And there isn't a better way of being charitable than being charitable with what asset one has to give to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his worship and his celebration, etc., etc. And invite others to come, or go to another's that has some facility and do the same thing. Nice decorations and everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That's one of the reasons why, particularly for householders, there's a second reason that Prabhupada has expressed, not in this purport, but household life uh-oh. Can I have, just shut it off. I normally keep my ringer off, but I don't know what I did. I left it on. Okay, pardon me. Household life means accepting the bodily conception. One who has a bodily conception, transfer the bodily conception to the Supreme Person who has a spiritual form, although the deity, I remember very specifically when, on the occasion of the installation of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, in Prabhupada's powerful speech, and Prabhupada said something, I was surprised. During the lecture, on the day of the installation of Krishna Balaram, which took several days for it to happen. So he said, everybody knows that these deities were carved from marble in Jaipur. I didn't know that till he said it. But, the deity looked like marble, carved in a marble maker, and a worldly person says, oh, idol worship is marble or metal or wood, and they're worshiping an idol. The worldly persons think like that. And they're not wrong, as Prabhupada said. Everybody knows these deities came from Jaipur, from a carver in Jaipur. And they did a fantastic job. But by the method of what we just did, the procedures and mantras, etc., under the guidance of Scripture, specifically mentioned in the purport here, is Vaishnava Tantras or Puranas. So Vaishnava Tantras, like Narada Pancharatra, is a Tantra. It's a category of the Vedas. It bears the name of Narada, but it's a Vedic teaching. There's two standards, quickly. One standard is the agamas, that are the not the system that we follow, but it's a valid system, and some persons make their best effort to follow the agamas and do worship according to the agamas. And then there's another section of the Vedas which we follow, and that's the Pancharatrika system. And the Pancharatrika system includes the Pancharatras, like Narada Pancharatra, the Vaishnava Tantras. You know the verse, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatriki Vidimbina Aikuntiki Harer Bhaktir Utpataya Vakalpate. It's a well-known verse. In that verse is the Pancharatriki. So worship that's not done according to reference to Scripture, like the Pancharatras or Vaishnava Tantras, that's not proper worship. Worship should be done according to standards of proper worship. For ISKCON, we follow the Pancharatrika system. And specifically, from the Pancharatrika system, we follow the system that's found in Hari Bhakti Vilas. that's drawn from the Pancharatras, or the Vaishnava Tantras. Just sharing. To help the devotees in the central United States, our temple president, she won't mind my speaking like this, she is arranging for the deity worship minister for the world and the deity worship minister for North America to come together and have a week-long deity worship training for all the devotees, both for in the temple and for in their home, because the standards in your home are simplified, but they're still from the Panchatrika system. The standards in the temple are a little more complex, but not as complete as possible, just, basic standards. And, formal training. The deity worship minister, his name is Nrsinga Kavacha. Nrsinga Kavacha lives in Australia. He lived for years in Mayapur and got trained by Jananivas, who was trained by Prabhupada. And they know the scriptures. So he's going to teach the scripture and then the procedure. That's the practical that's being spoken of here. And it's especially beneficial for householders. Anyone can do deity worship ABC. And you don't have to do complicated. But ABC should be according to scripture. Then you're a faithful follower. And Krishna will accept even if someone's a child and doesn't know ABC. Offer with love and devotion a fruit and flower, leaf and water, and you don't need mantras and procedures. But if you're an adult, it's good to know procedures, proper procedures, and then you're a follower of the scripture and the Goswamis that trained others, because this method is found in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. So it's Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami giving us the procedures that we follow. So it's good to get training. I'm sure that there are already existing some YouTube videos of deity worship training. I'm sure of it. I haven't viewed them, but I'm sure that they exist. So everybody in the room can find out what those procedures are specifically for worship in your home and for those who have the inspiration to worship in the temple. And then there's going to be a fresh batch that's going to happen in America. So get training and then follow according to these scriptural standards. And then the eyes are not like the plumes of a peacock anymore. Their eyes seeing the form of the deity, who is none different than the Supreme Lord, not a representation of the deity. The deity is the Supreme Lord. And that takes a while to realize. But following proper procedure helps one realize. I'll just say one other thing and I'll end. Could you check and see, are they ready for us? Are they ready for the deity worship? They're dressing the deity. Find out if they're ready for us. If they're ready to come out with the deity nicely dressed and decorated. So I know somebody, somewhere, one temple, they worship Radha Krishna in their home. They were worshiping Radha and Krishna in their home for a number of years. Like many years, 15 plus years, Radha Krishna deities. And 5 minutes, okay. Just waiting till you get settled. I'd like everyone's attention. It's a nice story. So I was visiting their home, and I asked, how long you've been worshiping the deity, and then they live not far from the temple in America, and I asked, because the wife is the main one that does the worship during 3 days of the month. Her husband does the worship, but otherwise she worships the deity, this I found out, the same standard as the deity in the temple. 7 offerings, 7 artis. Every day. Ladies, 7 offerings, 7 artis every day for 15 years. She's very dedicated. And she, when she speaks about her deity, she not just smiles, her whole being lights up. So I asked, do you do it any, and her husband said she doesn't have time. She does 7 offerings, 7 hours a day, and she does otherwise her sadhana. She just doesn't have time. I didn't say, why did you decide 7 times a day? I didn't ask that question, but that was what her dedication is. So then, what? I got the answer to my question. Thank you. So I said, you must have experienced some reciprocation from your deity. Would you like to share that with me? She is a quiet, reserved, kind of person, happy person, but not a, overly garrulous type person. She's just reserved in her speech. She turned to her husband. She didn't say anything. He just nodded. Go ahead, tell him. So she said, 3 times, I'm very particular. When I make the offering, I take Krishna's flute, place it in a certain place, make the offering. When the offering is done, I take the offering away, or put Krishna's flute back in its place. 3 times. The flute was in Krishna's hand after the offering was completed. And she didn't finish, that's what she said. It was, I took it, that it was an indication between Krishna and her, that Krishna is personally accepting the love and devotion and the practical, 7 times a day procedures that she follows according to the Archana Vidhi, the regulations she follows. But there's more than just following. It's not mechanical anymore. It's reciprocation. Personal reciprocation. No, I'm surprised. Okay.
The table.
You want over here or you want over there? Okay. Shri Radha Gopinath Ki. Yeah. So depending, Prabhu, as soon as you stop speaking, I'll continue speaking, but I'll wait until you stop speaking. You got to move. I think I should end.
Yes.
Too much chaos. Whether when making offerings to Krishna, it's personal. There's mechanical, there's procedure. Information has information, but information is meant for more than information. Deity worship is meant more than so many circles with your incense and so many circles with your ghee lamp and so many. Those procedures, but the essence is not the procedure, the essence is the devotion. And know for sure that the deity worship is, the deity is person, as the mantra is person, and there's reciprocation person to person. There may not be your deity picks up his flute and tells you silently, I'm accepting your worship in a personal way. That may not happen. It may happen. There may be other ways that there's personal reciprocation. There may be other ways that there's personal reciprocation, whatever that other way is, and even it may not be perceived by you physically by something. But at the heart level, engage in deity worship where it's a person to the Supreme Person gesture, following the vidhis, to get practical realization of the teachings of devotional service. So sorry for all the ringing of the whatever that doorbell is or something, and etc. Let's see if there's some discussion. We'll take a few minutes and then we'll have kirtan. Comments or questions? Yes.
Maharaj, when we were speaking about that example that you gave in terms of that Mataji
Yeah.
doing 7 times a day, so, and you said she didn't have time for other sadhana.
She didn't have time for deity worship in the temple,
Okay.
in addition to her 7 times a day. I didn't say she didn't have time for sadhana. Because to worship the deity, you can't approach the deity without sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
The heart has to be cleansed in order to do puja. And sadhana makes the heart cleansed. Gosh. Anything else? Okay. Okay.
We are doing the RP or calculation. What should be one thing doing? What should be one mode in doing this? As I said, sometimes we do just as a ritual or something.
Prabhupada's way of saying this is very simple and very direct. And he started crying when he said it. I heard it twice. My dear Lord Krishna. So expression of humility starts. I'm unqualified. From the Vyasasan in Vrindavan. My dear Lord Krishna, I'm unqualified. I'm rotten. I'm fallen. I'm puffed up. But you're very merciful, please accept. And his voice cracked. So it's humility and submission. and an appeal, please accept. It's a service. It doesn't have to be you have to cry, but the humility that says, I'm not really qualified, but I'm instructed to do this. And so, please accept, from an unqualified to the Supreme. So, if one doesn't do in that way, then it stays in the mechanical zone. Ritualistic kind of, not devotional mood. So it's not easy to move from the external to the internal, but that's recommended procedure. The deity is Krishna. You're offering to the Supreme Person from an unqualified to the Supreme. Not just qualified, but the Supreme. Someone else? Yes.
How do we discriminate between if it is a reciprocation from the deities or it's a mere sentiment like a falling flower from the deities?
Did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay. Prabhupada's answer to something like that is, don't read too much into it, but it's some kind of a sign. And exactly what kind of a sign, don't interpret, but some kind of a sign. There's reciprocation. You know, it could just be the force of gravity and you didn't put the flowers on properly. But some kind of sign. And then next time you're more careful about putting the flowers on properly. You have something.
What is the practical way of improving the quality of chanting as a chant?
Quiet. Go ahead.
The practical way of improving the quality of chanting is to chant more. Similarly, is there
Wait a minute. Sir, please, I can't hear the person asking the question. Try again, third time.
the practical way of improving the quality of chanting is to chant more?
No. More doesn't guarantee quality improves. More guarantees more. More doesn't guarantee quality improves. Correct? Quantity doesn't equal quality. It can help, because what's the impetus behind more? If the impetus behind more is quality, fantastic. For example, in 3 more days, 2 more days, Nrsimha Chaturdashi. So many of us in the room, myself included, will chant extra beyond standard. So it's not that because I'm going to chant more, it's going to, the quality is going to be better. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm still going to chant more, whether the quality is better or not better. Why? Because it's purifying. I'm in an auspicious state to engage in chanting. I need as much purification as I can get. How about you? So, purification, yes. Quality, let me work towards it. That's my expectation. That's a realistic expectation from more. Purification. But then I can become proud, oh, I'm chanting X number of rounds on Nrsimha Chaturdashi. And pride is in the heart, then the purity is far away. There are different ways, different adjectives. Rupa Goswami's adjective is adara. Nectar of Instruction, text number 7. Adarat. And it's tense. So it's with respect. Or the way Prabhupada is given in a word for word is attentively. But how can you be attentive if you're not respectful? If you're respectful, you can be attentive. So they go well together. Be attentive. Or there's other nice, descriptions, adverbs to the process of chanting, or adjectives describing chanting. I like attentive and absorbed. Strive to be attentive, because the offense, one of the 10 offenses, is to be inattentive while chanting, or number 11. So be attentive instead of inattentive. And absorbed. And you stay there. That's easier said than done, but that's quality. Not quantity or not. That's quality. More.
Extension to that question. So how we can practically, what we can do to get attached to the deities in the service?
What practically can we do to do what for the deity?
To get attachment to the deities.
Serve. How do you become attached? You associate with a person, you become attached to the person. How do you become full? You eat. If you want to become full, then eat. And if you want to become attached, service. Loving service. And then whatever happens from the other side is attachment. This is behind the curtain. I don't know what's going on. How much more time back there? 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay. One more question, then we'll have kirtan. We'll start. Yes.
What is the time, when we can bring the deities into the house? Sometimes we are reluctant, as we just started in Krishna consciousness for the last few years. When there is, I would say, a kind of a want to bring them in, but then also somewhere there's a bit of a reluctance that, we might make some offense. So
yeah, you might make an offense, so don't do anything. You might make an offense when chanting, so don't chant. You might make an offense to a Vaishnava, so don't associate with Vaishnavas. Because you might make an offense. So in answer to your question specific to deities, is consult someone who's a senior devotee who you look up to. And it's not exactly, am I ready? You could ask that question. But a better question is, can you guide me in ways that I can, in principle, prepare myself to be ready? And then you take it to heart, and then you prepare yourself to be ready when you're feeling reluctant. And then, if you have such a person in your life, or persons, plural, then they'll tell you, I think you're ready. Or, you're almost ready. So here's a boot in the seat of the pants, and now you're ready. Take the step. So preparation to be ready, because it's true. It's very serious business. You invite the personality of Godhead into your home. You better be ready. But same with chanting, same with sadhu sangha, same with any of the activities. Maybe I shouldn't go visit Vrindavan because I'm not ready. Go to Vrindavan. Maybe I shouldn't read Prabhupada's book because I might misunderstand something. So we engage in the process under guidance. So ideally, to somebody that's senior, a mature, wise, I call him village elder. Doesn't have to be guru, just somebody, a village elder type. And they know you, at least a little bit. Because different people are different. The principles are principles, and application of principles is good if it's customized, according to the person. So, what do you need? And then consult those persons, the village elder type, the mature, wise, experienced persons who you look up to, and they can help guide you how to prepare yourself. And then if you're still reluctant, you'll get over it, because you have to, at some point, you have to take a step. You can't just be always preparing to take a step. Take a step. I see two hands. I want to have... Okay, but he's got his hand up first.
Lot of times we hear,
Little louder.
Advaita Acharya, he used to worship only the Shaligram.
No, he didn't. It's not that he only worshipped Shaligram. He worshipped Shaligram. Go ahead.
Yeah, so is that also in deity form?
Yes.
Like we have Laddu Gopal at home, for example.
Okay.
Is that also, can that also be considered?
Why not? The form of the Lord.
But if we have not followed the process like Prabhu has
It's
done,
still deity worship. It's not formalized, but it's deity worship. Isn't it? Okay, over here.
If we travel and get deities at home, so what can we do?
Well, you need two things, three things. Bring the deity with you. Second, have somebody while you're gone worship the deity in your absence. And then there's a third, and I'm not so familiar with the procedure, but there's some procedure called putting the deity to rest. And don't ask me how do you do that, because I don't have the answer to that question. But find somebody that is very familiar with deity worship and put the deities to rest till you return. Yeah, because Gopal Krishna... Just today, or just yesterday evening, I received a letter from somebody that they don't presently live in Boise, Idaho, but they lived in Boise, Idaho, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj was visiting in Boise, Idaho, and he traveled with many deities, not just Shaligram, many deities. And the persons who he visited, and the friends of those who he visited, they were assisting him in deity worship. And maybe you know this already, but when he was in this final stage, he was like not conscious, lying on, hours before he left his body, he was doing arti in the air to his deities, waving incense. Maybe you've seen pictures of it. And then I sent that to one of his disciples, and he said, yes, he regularly did that. I, this devotee, had the opportunity to be with Gopal Krishna Maharaj when he wasn't well, and not, years ago, he was not well. And, it's in his sleep, he was doing the same thing. In the air, while he's asleep, waving his arms in the air, making offerings to his deities. So if you can, take your deity with you, and if you can't, have somebody worship or put the deity to rest. Now let's have kirtan. You're the kirtan person? Who was the kirtan person before? Huh? Now is time. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai.
नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय नमस्ताय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna,
Gopinath Radha Gopinath
This divine grace is the Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Vina Pravishna Om. Paramahamsa Pariviracharya Astatara Satrasi Simad. The divine grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Tatsadaracharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Then Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Vrindavan Dvicham Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Gangamai ki jai. Vanamai ki jai. Sri Devi ki jai. Devi Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Brihat Pradanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki Shri Shri Gornitai ki Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki Shri Radha Gopinath ki Gaur Premanandi. Glories to the assembled glories to the assembled glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakti Pradad Maharaj ki jai. Lord Premanandi. So what are you going to announce? What's next?
So, Prabhuji, we are ahead of Maharaj. We are ahead of time, Maharaj. So maybe we can do kirtan for 10 minutes and then we can go ahead for prasadam.
Okay. Where are they going to take prasadam right here or go somewhere?
A function hall.
Where?
The downstairs.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them what's next after kirtan for 10 minutes?
Sure.
Tell them.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. So, we will have now 10 minutes kirtan and after that we will have prasadam in the function hall. Okay, so prasadam is ready. So if someone is running out of time, they can go and have prasadam also. But meanwhile, we do the 10 minutes kirtan.
Where's the function hall? Tell
Function
them.
hall is just downstairs. So if you go exit, just go straight opposite, in between the swimming pools.
In between? After the swimming pool.
Say it one more time because
There
so
are
it's clear.
two swimming pools. One is the child swimming pool and one is the adult swimming pool. So in between the two swimming pools, there is. We'll do kirtan till 11:25, and then we'll go ahead for prasadam. If anyone is in rush, can have prasadam early also.
Looks like you're elected. Want to leave kirtan?
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Follow.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Vrindavana Dham, Jaya Vrindavana Dham. Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Jaya Vrindavana Dham, Vrindavana Dham, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadama. Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Goranita, Jai Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, I will remember the
जय हरि राम संकीर्तन की जय, संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, श्री राधा गोपीनाथ जी की जय, श्री प्रहलाद नरसिंह भगवान की जय, श्री मातेदास भगवान की जय, श्री संतोष स्वामी जी की जय, श्री गुरु परंपरा की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरु वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद जी बोल।
Krishna. So, proceed for Prashadam. Maybe we can go. We can start from the Himal itself. And then Mata, you can.
Come here.